Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Black Swan Relationship Academy. We're here with you tonight. Me and these gorgeous women. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. Representing the Swan universe, gracious, beautiful, and glorious. And they happen to be your coaches. What can I say? We get the best out here in the Black Swan Relationship Academy. So I have Yvonne. Wave and say hello, please, Yvonne.
Hello, everyone.
There she is. Her Majesty.
You to our usual get together on a Tuesday. So glad to have you. Looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty. Followed by our unique. She comes with no introduction. Please. Say hello.
Thank you very much. Oh, hello. I don't know. We're doing the whole royale,
Yes.
Because we are.
We are queens after all. So hello.
Darling. Yes, and she is sexy and confident and all those amazing things. So what can I say? What can I say? And then last but absolutely by no means least is Nadine. Say hello, Nadine. Say hello.
Hi.
What else do you want to say, Nadine? Nadine is humble. She's humble. She's the humble one of the two.
Yeah, right.
She's a humble Canadian. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Welcome, ladies. Okay, so today we're talking about the do's and don'ts of dating. What are the absolute? Now we can give you a whole plethora, a whole page full of do's and don'ts. We so can, but we don't want to spend too long here wasting anybody's time. We're just going to go straight into it. Bullseye, give it to you straight. And I'm going to ask the coaches to go ahead and give you their premium do and don't. So Yvonne, why don't you get us started today? What is your do or don't for women out here dating who just want to win in the game of love? Let's have it.
Hi, everyone. And do you know, when it comes to dating, it's not just about dating. I think it's about everything that we're going to show up for in life. And for me, the biggest thing that you can do, something that you cannot not do, is to be your authentic self. Be you. Don't go out there thinking, I love the way Chengi speaks. Maybe if I speak like her. Or I love the way Unique looks. I know I'll do my makeup like that. Or, they say Canadians are nice. They're really kind, so I'll be Nadine. All of those, that is wonderful. And if you put all that together, you would get a wonderful woman, but it wouldn't be you. And it wouldn't be your authentic self. Because remember, if this relationship that you're in and it goes the distance, then when do you revert back? When do you then become you? If, psychologists say that we can only maintain a change for no more than 6 weeks. This relationship now looks as though it's going to go into week 7. Do you sabotage it because you didn't show up as your authentic self? So if nothing else, show up as you, be authentic, own you, because here's the thing, you love you, you respect you, and you're kind to you. So show up as you.
I love that.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to come in with a don't. And again, it's also part of being authentic. It's definitely don't take each other for granted. Don't take each other for granted that, someone is always going to do for you without you reciprocating. And with that, you also learn to show appreciation. And as much as I've known anyone, because we expect the masculine to be a giver. I guess I'm talking to women in a sense. We expect the masculine to be a giver, but then at the same time, they love to be appreciated. They want to be appreciated for what they do, the role that they play, and don't take your man for granted. And I guess it's the same for men. Don't take your woman for granted. Don't take it for granted that she'll always cook, she'll always clean, she'll always do the school run, she'll always do. We all need a space where we feel safe and appreciated, and always recognizing that someone is doing the best that they can, but then able to not take them for granted. And I think normally when you take someone for granted, it's because you start to expect of them and become entitled to their presence. And as a Black Swan, that's the one thing we don't do. We don't ever take for granted and therefore feel entitled to anyone's time and space.
Yes.
Love it. Don't take people for granted, Black Swans, especially men that are dating you and showing you some real love and attention. Love that. How about you, Nadine? What are your thoughts? What are you giving us, a do or don't?
I'm giving a don't. So I would say this goes for men and women. Don't lose yourself when you're dating. So we tend to want to, for a woman, we tend to kind of want to be a chameleon and kind of want to start doing what he was attracted to about you, or vice versa. You like, you kind of start losing yourself to please that other person. So things that you wouldn't want to do, you start doing, but keep authentic. So don't lose yourself, because we tend to do that to please that person, or we want that relationship to last. So we didn't kind of start we lose our boundary settings, we lose everything. We start doing things that we would not normally do. So I'm going to go to don't lose yourself. And the only way that you know you don't lose yourself is you have to know yourself. So is this a combination? So don't do that.
Love that one. Love it. I think we get into chameleon very easily, and that's really got to do with our own lack of identity, isn't it? Okay, it's my turn, and then we can just all jump in and talk about everybody, whatever we want to talk about. Okay, so I'm doing a do. My do is do be feminine at all times. Yeah. Okay. The power of femininity is so powerful that even if a man wants to compete with you in the feminine, he will have no choice but to be in the masculine, because when you're a feminine woman, you are receptive. So you have to watch your energy and make sure that you're never going towards him. You're never pursuing. You're never leading. And sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes we want to lead the conversation and keep it going. And sometimes we want to create these opportunities for him to ask us out. All of that is kind of dithering in the masculine. The idea is, I am at peace, I am at rest, I am complete, and I am receptive and available to your pursuit, right? And if you can hold that space, and a lot of us have a hard time because you have to be super patient, because sometimes men have been trained to be more feminine, so they're going to be a bit more passive, they're going to move with a bit more passivity, a bit more, and maybe their confidence is not exactly where it should be. But if you stay grounded in your feminine, honestly, I promise you, if you just sit back and say, he will pursue, he will ask me out when he's ready, he will charm me, he will lead in the area of, even physical touch. Let him touch you. The masculine touches the feminine first. So let him put his hands on you, obviously in a way that you feel comfortable, in places you feel comfortable. But, I'm talking about, let the touch begin with the masculine. I used to make the mistake of, I used to get so glad to be on a date with a gorgeous guy or a fantastic guy, and I'm a toucher by nature. If you're around me, I'm going to touch you. I touch to feel my world. But it's, when you do that with a man, if you just touch him and keep touching him, you are leading. So allow yourself to be receptive to his touch, obviously in the areas that, again, like I said, in the ways that feel comfortable to you. And so when we sit in our feminine, after a while, he cannot resist his masculine energy to pursue. He cannot resist. And some of us, especially when we're dating and he's getting a bit cold, we get into masculine. Let him be cold, let him chill, let him go ice below zero, freezer, and let him die out in the waters, because you just stay stable. We're not matching energy, we're not trying to be matching nobody, because we don't want to be below zero. So feminine women don't match energy. We hold our position, we hold our space. You found me in the state of rest, you will find me again in a state of rest. I will never move. So the egg sits and the sperm moves. So no matter how desperate the egg is to be fertilized, no matter how much is crying out in our wombs, say, fertilize, it still is designed to stay stable. It's designed to sit. So if we can remember that your divine, most powerful position is actually in your passivity, is actually in your groundedness, is actually being rooted like a tree, which is why I say feminine energy is like a tree. If you're rooted and grounded into your self-worth, rooted and grounded into your value, rooted and grounded into who you really are, and you have that high self-esteem, you root yourself into that, I promise you the birds and the bees are going to come. I promise you the everybody's going to come to this great tree. Trees don't chase people, they stay, and people seek out the tree. So if you can do that, you're onto a winner.
I love when you mentioned the fact about patience when you are, especially when you're on your date and the guy kind of starts to draw back a bit. It's just by human nature to want to, what's going on? Where are you? I haven't seen you. Can we talk about that a little bit more? Because sometimes I guess it's be patient when you're in a relationship. Let the man be the one who paces it. Let him be the one who does the advances, because you've got this 3-month mark that, okay, he needs to be engaging me by here. Then after 6 months, I need to have introduced him to my parents. Then the next year, this time, we should be going down the aisle, and he ain't moving like that. He's just sitting by and calling you once a week. How do you still remain patient within that space?
What do you think? Yvonne?
To remain patient within that space is, you've got to have other activities out there that you're doing. You're busy in yourself. You're not sitting by the phone. Emails. That's not what you've got your phone in your hand, and you get those texts, they come through every you no,
it's only a reminder from the last game you played.
That is just so desperate. And you know what? Men can smell that desperation. Not only can they smell that desperation, then honey, you show up desperate, he's gonna play you, as one of my colleagues here says, like a tambourine,
Sunday morning, come on now.
And that's what men do. So busy yourself. This is what Chengi was speaking about just now, about sitting in your feminine. Busy yourself, because let's face it, you are the prize. You are the one. He's chasing you. Remember, the female never, ever chases. She is caught. You just need to make sure that you're where you're supposed to be. When he's ready, he finds you busy. He calls you after 2 weeks or whatever length of time, and you don't pick up. Just think what that does to his psyche. But I haven't spoken to her for 2 weeks. Why hasn't she picked up the phone? What's she doing? That's what he's going to be asking himself. When he calls you on the 3rd day and you pick up, oh, hi, how are you doing? Do you know what? I can't talk now. I'm really busy. I'm just on my way out. If you're free, call me around the same time on Tuesday. I think I've got an opening then. He's going to want to pursue, because guess what? You're not holding space for him. He isn't the be all and end all in your life. So don't be desperate. Don't. It's not a good look on anyone or
Do you think that maybe Yvonne is giving the girls some game? Free game. I tell you what, it's really true. And for anybody who might misunderstand what Yvonne's saying, we're not out here trying to tell you to play games.
No.
What she's really saying is, if you genuinely have a full life, you don't have time for the checkthephone.com, right?
Yes.
And it is perfectly okay when you are busy to not forage and try and find time for him. Your job is to be receptive and available as a feminine woman. And if you are not available, you are not available. It's not about moving your whole world to be available. And that signal says to a man, this is a woman of high value. This is a woman who, her time is not just tomorrow I'll see. No, if you want to see her, there's a protocol that you follow, because she actually has a life. She actually has friendships. And I'm going to tell you something else that's even more high value. You can tell a man, I'm tired and I want to rest. Can we do this in a few days? I do it to even the coaches. They'll ping me. I'll be like, girls, or whoever it is I'm talking to, girl, I'm so tired.
Mm.
I'm taking time out. Speak to you tomorrow. And nobody around here gets upset. We are a crazy little universe of our own where we understand each other's language. But the bottom line is having that value that Yvonne is saying, having that life where I'm not available. But if you want my availability, it looks like you making a lot of effort, right? So I love that. So there's free game for you. You can pay it. How about, what do you think, Nadine? Why do we like that patience? What's going on?
Well, I'm kind of going on a different angle. You know, we say being your feminine, resting your feminine. Yeah, it's easy to say, but it's not easy to do, because if you think of all other areas of our life, we're used to, you do something, you get something, and you have to go for it, right? In certain areas. I think being in a feminine is like, some people may not know how to be in that feminine because they've never really actually practiced it, right? How sometimes people doing their feminine, like they'll keep busy. Like, you know what I mean? I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'm in my feminine. But busyness is not sometimes part of feminine, because you keep things to do. You either might do schooling, you might do all these other activities. So I think the first thing to do in order to kind of practice this is learn how to rest, how to enjoy yourself. And that gives you the practice of being in your feminine. So when you're dating now, and now you feel like things are going slower at a pace, or you feel like that person is leading, it has to lead you kind of not get uncomfortable. I remember years and years ago, and I never understood it, when I was one of those people, even in grade school, I would want to ask a guy to dance. I would want to do this. And my mom would always say to me, and I thought it was so old school at first, she's like, you don't go and ask a man to dance. The man asks you to dance. It's like, you know, in a dance, a man leads and you follow, and you have to wait. You know what I mean? That's what makes it a beautiful rhythm. So I think it's learning how to rest in your feminine, learning how to sit still, learning how to do things, practicing that, so that when you're dating and you get that guy, you're not like, okay, if I say this or I do this, it's gonna force it. But then the dynamics is always gonna be like that. And I think we have to focus on how do we rest in our feminine so that we can practice it, because it's easy to say, but sometimes it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I love
Very
what
true.
you said, you know, I have a client who's a dancer, and when she does swing, and she didn't really see the correlation, obviously, until she started working with us. And as she started to learn about the feminine, she was like, I get it.
Can we
As a
just
woman-
clarify that the swing is a swing dance?
Yes, the swing dance. Swing dance, for those of you who's
Just to clarify, you're saying?
thank you. She's swing dancing, and she was, you know, she goes to ballroom, she does all these big things, and until then she hadn't really understood the movement of the masculine and feminine. Like Nadine was saying, it is a dance. It is a dance where the man asks you to dance. If a man doesn't ask you to dance at these swing dance events, then you're standing there all night, right? So you want to be the girl that's looking beautiful. And you know, she was talking about, you know, how he holds frame. Now when you're doing swing, there's a lot of throwing, a lot of twisting, a lot of, you know, and the masculine has to look first out to see if it's safe where he's going to thrust her.
Yeah.
Before any move happens, the masculine in the dance has to look ahead, then twist her around to make sure she doesn't bump into the other dancers. So he's perpetually holding frame, perpetually protecting. He's looking over the feminine. That's his job. That's why the masculine doesn't do any of the funny moves, right? He's usually the one holding frame. And she was able to see what it looks like when a man holds frame. And when a man is holding frame, you're really able to be yourself, your effervescent self, your beautiful self. And I really believe that if you have a hard time sitting in your feminine, learn to dance, go for formal dance lessons, you know, go, even if it's not formal dance. I know even like the Zumbas, and not Zumba, what's the other one that you used to do? You used to do Kazumba, yeah. Any dance that even salsa, any dance that requires pairing will really help you understand the dynamic. And what I love when I was listening to Nadine, I was like, oh, we can put those, Yvonne's one and Nadine's one, to bring understanding. Be busy resting. Be busy being still, because it's an actual job resting in this day and age.
Yeah.
You know, and hey, look, we can be here all day, but I want to say one last thing about why to answer Unique's question, and then we'll have our final comments, and then we'll see you all on our next video. So one of the major reasons underpinning all of these manifestations, the anxiety, phone checking anxiety, confusion, what's going on, you know, finding it difficult to rest in your feminine. We all know, all of us know this, but our audience may not know this. Excuse me. Is trauma.
Yeah.
If you are the child that was neglected, if you are the child that was abandoned, if you are the child that was in a chaotic, unstable home, you learned to get either very anxious and attached to your caregiver in the hope that they're going to leave you, so you would grab onto them emotionally, spiritually, maybe start to people please. And so when that person is leading the way they want to lead and pacing the way they want to pace, you start to experience that childhood trauma of abandonment, because for you never had that consistency, you never had that security. So you see the world and your relationships with people, men, friends, it goes all the way through as they're always about to abandon you. So you will either have that anxiety, or you're going to have that avoidant, you know, I'm not, if I attach, I'm going to end up in a problem. So a lot of what causes us to be low value is usually actually the anxious attachment style. It's anxiety. That's what makes us chase. That's what makes us go after. That's what makes it difficult for us to sit and wait for him to call. It's what makes it difficult for us to think of anything other than why he hasn't called. Okay. So it's really about healing your inner wounds. It's really about understanding your unconscious belief. And some of us start to think it's because I'm not worthy, I'm not worth it, you know, there's something wrong with me, which is the natural way of a child internalizing their world. So for me, it's really important for us to understand that we can should practice feminine principles. We should take advantage of all of this information. We should have full lives that are gorgeous and delicious, and we love living them. We should be busy learning to rest. We should be doing all of these things. But if you haven't done and are not doing any inner work, it's going to be an uphill struggle of many, many losses. So what we want to do is pick up our phone, and the exciting thing is, I beg your pardon. The exciting thing is that we're about to enroll again for the Soulmate Attraction System course group coaching. So we've got a few weeks before the next one, because the current one is on fire.
Yeah.
I look forward to going there because it's so good. The vulnerability, the sharing, strangers coming together and just becoming family. I'm seeing it happening and I'm loving it, and the transformation, and people are already asking about the next one. So we will be launching that really soon. It's a great opportunity for you to be a part of that. And all the links will be in the description below. Contact your coach, whether it's on Instagram, your favorite coach, follow them on Instagram and DM them, and they'll give you a 15-minute call to see whether or not you are suitable for the one-to-one or the group coaching, and answer any questions that you have, because I'm sure you got tons of questions. But that is the most superior way to handle your attachment style issues and your traumas. Anything else you'd like to say, ladies, before we say our goodbye?
Yeah, and to add as well, the whole thing of accepting your traumas and dealing with them is just finding another way to look at them, because you can't exactly get rid of your old story. And that's what you do when you get a one-to-one coach, is helping you understand and work at another way of not necessarily resolving, but how to rework it and still accept who you are, even with that trauma. Because we're not trying to tell you to get rid of your trauma. It is there, it is what it is. It's okay. One way you could busy yourself is have a coach once a week, because most probably you do it in the evenings after work. That's you busying yourself, but you're busying yourself with working on yourself, working on your internals. And sometimes, because say if you do, even with the texting with the coaches, you can literally just set aside some time when you do feel anxious and say, look, I'm feeling this way, I want to call him. Then we can help you work through that anxiety and dealing with it, because it's really more about how you deal with it, getting new coping mechanism, getting new ways, because all that trauma is really about your energy getting built up in a space where it's always ended up leading you to calling the guy, to being anxious about it. But then what we now want to try and redirect is you being at peace with it and really finding something else, like maybe go and water your plant or something. And I think in some one video reminds me of go and sip your water or something. If you're all getting thirsty, just go and sip some water and go to the gym. The little things that will help you, because we can't regulate on our own. We all need to co-regulate. We all need family to regulate with, friends and professionals who will help you understand why you're doing what you're doing and catch you out at times when you're feeling some kind of way. And these are all those patterns that end up destroying relationships. So I guess another do that we can add, do work on yourself.
Yes.
Do get a coach and do the work.
Yes.
Love it. 100%.
I just wanted to say, just to buttress what you're saying, Unique, when you say do get a coach, to do work on yourself. And what I'm going to say is don't neglect self. Genuinely don't neglect self, because when you neglect you, then you know what, everything that shows up and it looks shiny, you think that that's mine, and you put so much energy, so much goes into thinking that this is my person, you know, he's the perfect one for me, because you have no core needs, you haven't set any boundaries, you haven't you know, taken the time to deal with you know, your attachment style. You haven't got to know who you are. You haven't even found your voice yet, but he looks good, he smells good, so he must be good for you. Don't neglect not doing the work on you, because at the end of the day, what that's going to do is, you know, on a journey that took 11, that's supposed to take 11 days, can end up taking you 40 years. And then at the end of the 40 years, you're going to sit back and you know what? I think the worst thing for anybody to say when they get there is say, if I had known.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is telling you now, do the work, don't neglect self.
Love it. Love it. And final words from you, Nadine?
And I think the last thing is don't be discouraged. You know, we're talking about do's and don'ts of dating, and some people out there might say, oh, well, then I won't date. I'll solve the problem. I just won't date at all. But I think that's not a way. Do not escape from it. Dating is a wonderful thing if you put yourself in there. And you might say, well, I never get dates, I have a hard time, we put like this negative thing in our mind. But go out there, and if you have the right tools, it helps you discover things that you may need to work on, because relationships, Chengi always say this, it's like a mirror of like seeing yourself and how you're dealing with things. And it's great because you don't want 5, 10, 15 years pass and there's things that you don't know what's going on because you decided not to have relationships, not to know people, not to get to know people, because you want to grow and transform, right? So don't be discouraged. And if you do feel discouraged, come to the academy and get a coach and do the courses or do a group coaching and see how we can help and transform and just work on yourself. So that's the last thing I wanted to say.
I love it. I love it. And so ladies, what we're going to say, we've said it all. We'll see you in our next video. We love you to bits and pieces, and it's goodbye from us.
Bye, everyone.